When the American Civil War began in April of 1861 with the firing on Fort Sumter, no one on either side had any idea how long the conflict would last. Young men left home thinking the fight would be over quickly, and the outcome decided in a matter of weeks or months. This was not to be the case. Although many businesses and sectors of the civilian economy managed to continue operations during the war years, uncertainty became a factor of everyday life. Henderson Scott was 47 years old when the Civil War began. He and his wife Margaret and their 3 young children lived in the HAWFIELDS section of Alamance County, south of Mebanesville, a precursor to modern-day Mebane, North Carolina. Henderson and Margaret would go on to have 2 more children during the war years, with one more arriving a few months after peace was declared. Like most people in the HAWFIELDS, Henderson was a farmer, but his main focus was a series of businesses, including a blacksmith shop, a mercantile, and a tannery. During the war, North Carolina made a serious effort to clothe her soldiers, and Henderson would find himself ramping up production of leather to be made into shoes for the troops. These shoes were called brogans. Henderson Scott's business activities survived the wreckage of the Civil War, and he even expanded his interests after it ended, opening a new mercantile in Mebane, a building that would endure until 1973. While Henderson Scott was struggling to keep up with orders at his tannery, people he knew from church, the Binghams, were facing their own challenges. The Bingham family, 2nd and 3rd generation schoolmasters, lived on what is now the corner of Mebane Oaks Road and Highway 54, south of modern-day Mebane. William James Bingham, the headmaster, had chosen this location decades before because, like his father before him, he desired to raise his family and to run his school in the country. The campus included their family home place, now a bed and breakfast, several other buildings, a model farm, and an orchard. With the senior Bingham in poor health and son Robert Bingham intent on joining the militia, it became clear that young William Bingham, a brilliant but sickly scholar, would have to take over management of the school. In 1864, young William Bingham secured a 30-year charter from the North Carolina General Assembly. What had been a classical school preparing boys for college would remain as such, but would add military training to the curriculum. Under the provisions of the charter, pupils at the Bingham School would be exempt from conscription until the age of 18. They would, however, receive military training and be liable for mobilization in case of military emergency. All of the teaching staff received military commissions. With the charter secured, William Bingham moved his father's school to a new 320-acre campus located along what is now Highway 70, 1 mile east of modern-day Mebane. The campus had its own stop on the railroad, and as visitors entered the grounds, they walked through a set of brick gates. These gates are all that remain of the school. William Bingham and his family lived in Belgrove, the superintendent's residence. The house was located very near the entrance to the school. Robert's wife and children moved into Midlawn, another residence located nearby. The cadets were housed in 2 sets of barracks. There was a teaching facility and a dining hall, and even a gymnasium, a rarity at that time. The spacious grounds had open lawns for sporting events and military drills. A large garden behind the school provided fresh fruits and vegetables for the table. With William Sr. in retirement and brother Robert away, young William Bingham, now Colonel Bingham by virtue of the charter, ran the school with the help of 2 other teachers, his brother-in-law Stuart White and a cousin, William B. Lynch, both majors. William's wife, Owen Bingham, managed the boarding department and also gave music lessons. William was a wonderful and inspiring teacher. He wrote several books, including a Latin grammar and an English grammar, and an edition of Caesar's commentaries on the Gallic War. These books stayed in print for decades and were used all over the country. 2 of them have been reprinted for use today. Parents who sent their sons to the Bingham School knew that the curriculum was designed to prepare the pupils for college. Not only were the pupils prepared to sit the college entrance exams, they were expected to become exemplary students. After the war ended in 1865, Robert Bingham, who had endured both fighting and captivity bravely, came home and, no doubt with great relief, resumed his teaching career. He and his wife, Delphina Worth Bingham, known as Dell, went on to raise a family of 5 children. William Bingham and his wife Owen had 6 children. With no dearth of heirs, it seemed as though the school would continue smoothly for many generations to come. By the time W.J. Bingham Sr. passed away in 1866, the Bingham School was thriving in its new location. The school had many events such as military drills, sports, musical evenings, and the staff encouraged local people to attend. The pupils were mostly from North Carolina, but the school attracted some from as far away as Texas. We don't know today if Henderson Scott had planned for his 2 younger sons to attend the Bingham School, but it is very likely. W.J. Bingham had taught many well-respected local leaders, such as the Reverend Greene Hughes, pastor of HAWFIELDS Presbyterian Church, the church attended by the Scott family. Samuel Wellwood Hughes, a younger brother of Reverend Hughes, attended one of the schools run by W.J. Bingham and even taught under his guidance for a few years. When Henderson passed away in 1870 after surgery on an injured ankle, Margaret took over management of the family affairs. It was she who enrolled James Edwin in the Bingham School, and she who received his progress reports. No doubt, James Edwin received helpful guidance from his older brother Sam, who lived nearby with his own family. A grade report from that time shows what James Edwin, or Ed as he was called, was learning: spelling, reading, writing, composition, geography, history, Latin, arithmetic, and algebra. Ed Scott was a good student and prepared to work hard. He was ambitious like his father before him, and he dreamed of owning a cotton factory. Robert Scott, James Edwin Scott's younger brother, joined him at the Bingham School in 1874. The brothers were very close, and after graduating from Bingham, both James Edwin and Robert enrolled at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Although they enjoyed college life in Chapel Hill, the Scott brothers both came to realize that their educations, though of high quality and at fine schools, could not in fact prepare them for their chosen careers. They both spent 1 year in Chapel Hill before leaving to seek more practical training elsewhere. In 1878, James Edwin made the decision to travel all the way to Poughkeepsie, New York, to take classes at a new school called the Eastman College of Business. He was especially anxious to learn all he could about accounting and finance. 4 years later, brother Robert, who was by this time managing his mother's farm, decided to become an apprentice at Houghton Farm in upstate New York. He was anxious to learn all he could about raising high-quality farm animals and about making his soil more productive. Robert was first embarrassed and then surprised and delighted that his interest in progressive farming would receive a great deal of publicity both in New York State and back home in North Carolina. His growing fame served him well when he decided to promote improved farming techniques first in his own community and later on the county level. For a time, James Edwin and Robert conducted various business ventures with each other and with their older brother Sam. Eventually, though, each brother forged his own career path. James Edwin built a tobacco factory in Mebane and kept 35 hands busy making smoking tobacco and plug tobacco. He married Mary Belle Mebane in 1885, and by 1886 was the father of a little daughter named for his mother, Margaret. Tragically, James Edwin died in 1888 at the age of 30. Who knows what this bright and ambitious young man would have accomplished had he lived to a ripe old age. Older brother Sam remained at the mercantile, buying and selling locally and shipping produce to the vast Thurber market in New York City. Sam would marry twice and father 10 children before dying at the age of 47 in 1897. Robert bought out his brother's interests in the family farm and with great determination set about making his farm profitable. This was a daunting task for a young man who owned hundreds of acres of depleted soil. Despite many obstacles, Robert became a master farmer, specializing in the raising of cows, sheep, and pigs, and was well known for his fine butter produced by the herd of Jersey cows. Robert married in 1883, and he and his wife Elizabeth Hughes Scott, known as Lizzie, went on to have 14 children, 11 of whom survived to maturity. The Scott and Bingham families stayed friends over the years, and in 1888, when Robert Scott decided to run for public office, promoting the agenda of the Farmers Alliance, his old teacher Robert Bingham supported him at political rallies. Robert would go on to serve in both the North Carolina House of Representatives and the North Carolina State Senate. He and his wife Lizzie corresponded almost daily while he was away from home. Their letters give us a picture of their struggles and concerns. Robert relied on Lizzie to manage the day-to-day activities of both the farm and the home. In 1901, Robert Scott was appointed to the State Board of Agriculture by Governor Aycock, and he served in this position under 6 succeeding governors. He encouraged Alamance County to establish farm demonstration work, and he and several of his children would become very active in the train tours and farmers' institutes that were hallmarks of early agricultural extension work. In appreciation of his service to agriculture, State College, now known as North Carolina State University, awarded him a Certificate of Merit. In 1927, Robert Scott received the Master Farmer Award, presented jointly by the Progressive Farmer magazine and State College. When Robert Scott passed away in 1929 at the age of 68, his church, community, and state lost a great public servant. In 1952, the new Poultry and Research Center building at State College was dedicated to him and named Scott Hall. The speaker for the dedication ceremony was Clarence Poe, editor of The Progressive Farmer and a good friend. In honor and memory of Robert Scott, Dr. Poe stated the following.
Robert Walter Scott was not only a good farmer, but he wished to see the whole South become a land of fertile soils, enterprising live-at-home farmers, fine livestock, and happy country homes. He devoted a lifetime to working constantly for this realization.